episode of Film Speak, sharing our love with all 6 of our viewers.
Joanna says, hi, Mom.
I'm your host, Lana.
And I'm your host, Bill.
You know we're doing Reservoir Dogs today.
I know, made me think of the whole thing that happened recently.
Oh, you mean with Tarantino's Western, The Hateful Eight? You know, it's a rough blow, and it just shows that you can't always tell who's on top of their camp and who isn't.
Sucks because I was all jazzed about it. A shame there isn't some renegade production company that would be a perfect fit to just go ahead and make this film.
While simultaneously giving the middle finger to the industry that made you cast Hateful Eight aside.
I'm telling you, it's a shame there's just not one production company.
We have a great show today. Filmmaker Albert Smith has brought in a clip, and joining him is the actress Laila Hameen.
Well, enjoy this clip, and we'll see you all at the table when we discuss filmmaking and later on break down the classic movie Reservoir Dogs.
Thinking about my old man.
I thought you told me you hated your old man.
Well, you know, he worked in the coal mine nearly 30 years for next to nearly nothing. We lived in a run-down trailer down in the holler. We didn't have anything, Darla.
Didn't know that.
When I left Kentucky, I swore I'd never be like him. I told myself that I would do anything to get what I wanted and to get what was mine. And if anybody got in my way, I would tear them down.
You don't have to worry about that now, Jules. You've got me, Modesto, and all the money you could ever want.
What do you take me for? Take me for some kind of fool? I see how you look at Bobby. And I swear to you, if I find out anything that's going on, I will cut that cute little face into cute little pieces and ship your ass off to Mexico. Do you understand me?
Yes! Please let me go.
Now get on out of here. Get!
So tell me, why did you stop being El Toro Azul in the first place? Okay. If you want me to believe you, then tell me why. Tell me how you ended up here.
I was young, successful, and stupid.
Come on!
Toro! it off! This coward's mask!
I want these cowards' masks! Rip it off! Rip it off! Yes, crack my head!
You know what, Arturo? This ain't even worth keeping as a trophy.
You're gonna need this for Saturday night. I got a couple calls to make and maybe an apology or two. Take care, my friend.
You think it's gonna be better inside? Yeah, there. That's got it. Ladies first.
Charming. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Let's see what's on the other side of that door. Hallway. Let's see where it leads.
Do I get paid either way?
Let's go.
Oh, what is that smell?
Evil death.
Okay, I don't want to do this anymore. You proved me wrong about the vampires, and I know I said I'd help you, but what good is being out of debt if I'm too dead to enjoy it?
Relax, there's nothing here we can't handle. Besides, I came prepared.
And that's supposed to make me feel better?
Look, I'll make you a deal. Go a little further, and if there's nothing going on, we'll leave, okay?
The evil death smell further ahead?
Well, yeah.
I don't know, Rook. This is...
I'll tack on a $15,000 bonus for every vampire you kill.
Let's go. By the way, I didn't see a gun in your bag.
Guns are useless against the supernatural, my dear.
Oh, yeah? What about silver bullets and werewolves?
Don't be ridiculous. I don't believe in werewolves.
Oh, God, I think I found the smell. So, back at the bar, you said that vampires make you nervous. Have you come across them before?
It was a long time ago. I'd rather not talk about it.
Oh, come on, Rook. You know all this stuff about me. It's only
Look,
fair...
I'd rather not talk about it.
Look, I'm sticking my neck out here. We could die at any moment, so anything you know from past experience, right now would be a great time to share.
I was traveling through Romania with a girl. Her name was Bianca. We were very young, very much in love. She wanted to join me on an investigation into the deaths of 3 children in this small village.
So what happened?
We used a dampier to sniff the vampires out. Dampier is a child of a male vampire with the instincts to hunt them down.
So you hunted them down and killed them?
Yes, but not before they'd got to Bianca. turned her. I had to kill her.
I'm sorry, Rook.
It's okay, Rachel. Let's just find out what's going on down here.
Welcome back to Film Speak. We're sitting here with Albert and Laila, here to discuss local filmmaking and the challenges of local filmmaking. We'll start with Albert. Would you like to tell us any projects that you are involved in or that you have coming up?
Yeah, we just we're wrapping up on a movie. It's called Modesto, and it's sort of a exploitation action film. The idea is that a man's wife is brutally raped and murdered, and the main character, he goes after each of these guys who live in this small town called Modesto, and now they have become higher up people in the town. One's like the sheriff of the town, things like that, and the main guy, he runs the whole town. And the whole objective of the movie is this guy is kind of like a Charles Bronson type character, and he just goes after each one of these guys and gets his revenge.
Very cool. So kind of drawing upon, like you said, the exploitation movies like Little Billy Jack, Little Death Wish, maybe a little Coffee. Foxy Brown to it.
Yeah, all of our all of our films kind of date back to the exploitation films of the old days, like 60s, 70s, and 80s. We have a lot of like Nazi exploitation, black exploitation. Each year we sit down and talk about like what kind of genre of film that we really like, and then we hone in on that and create a story from there.
It's kind of nice to see because not enough people have appreciation for that era of film. Because a lot of times I'll recommend Switchblade Sisters to people, and all I get is a weird look, and I'm just like, no, really, okay, it is kind of a hokey movie, but pay attention to the screenplay, pay attention to the characters.
Right.
You know, it really, underneath the layers of exploitation and the over-the-top violence and everything, is a great story about characters.
Right, and I think the thing about movies back then is that not a lot of filmmakers had the money that they do nowadays to get across what they want. So a lot of times they're relying on their imaginations and things like that to get across their creativity. And I think, to me, that's more important than a lot of these big budget films that are coming out today, that all are just explosions and they look like the same thing over and over again.
The story and the action and the dialogue, the actual skills of the actor come into play when you don't have such a big budget.
Exactly.
More of the old style of filming. Now, how about you, Laila? Do you have any projects that you're currently working on?
I am, actually. I am working on something I've written, and I am going to be directing it also. It's called Mr. Talkative. It's actually a short screenplay that I wrote. I've been writing for years, but this is actually my first time actually directing and acting and writing in a small script. So I'm really, really excited about it. Basically, Mr. Talkative is a character who everybody knows a Mr. Talkative. Somebody who just does not stop talking. Like, they just constantly going. You said it, not me. I didn't say it. But in any type of situation, there's always that one person who always has to talk. Even if somebody's busy or if they're on a date or something like that, there's always one Mr. or Mrs. Talkative everywhere. So basically, Mr. Talkative, Preston Ritter is actually one of my friends, and he plays Mr. Talkative. He is a very sweet guy in the script. However, he just pops up, gradually gets on people's nerves, but I don't want to give too much away because
Absolutely.
But I'm only in the first scene. I play a character who's just simply working on her assignment at work, and he comes into the break room and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" You know, and I'm good, blah blah blah, and he just kind of keeps irking me, and he brings out that anger that I have sometimes stored away. But he gradually moves on to different people, and you just see how annoying he is, but at the same time you kind of fall in love with him too.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Now, as an actress,
yes,
how do you feel about approaching a project as a writer?
It's different. Not too different, but there are some differences. You have to really have a good imagination. You have to be a little bit more open into actually creating a role for somebody else. Because a lot of times you're used to receiving directions from your director, or you look at your character and you're like, okay, this is for me, but you're creating it for somebody else. And so this is definitely a challenge for me, because I'm used to being in the front and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, what was the follow-up of your question?
Oh, I just asked what it was like.
What it was
as
like.
an actress transitioning to writer.
Yeah, it was fun, different and challenging for sure.
Yeah. Very cool.
Where do you do a lot of your own writing too, Albert?
Only when I have to. Sometimes you get crunched for, you run out of writers or something. But sometimes I do. I prefer to give it off to somebody else, mainly because me and Matt, my producer, we have so much going on all the time. We need a team of people that we can that we can all work together so we can concentrate on our jobs.
Be able to delegate,
yeah.
Responsibilities and stuff really helps.
Yeah, it does.
Because a lot of times if you're trying to take on too much at once, then some different areas will suffer because you're not able to give the attention that you need to it.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you find you draw some of your inspiration from, Laila?
Everyday life.
Very good, yeah.
Going to work, interacting with people, even going through the drive-through to get food. You meet all different types of people, and you get inspired by so many different random things and different people.
Meeting people, and then those become little pieces of characters and stuff that you put together.
And watching a lot of movies too.
Yeah.
I would say.
What movies inspire you?
Oh, so many of them.
Name three. Name three just off the bat.
Name three. Okay. Girl Interrupted.
Good movie. Yeah.
That is a very powerful film with Angelina Jolie. She's one of my favorite actresses. The direction, everything. It's a period piece, and I love period piece films. I really, really am inspired by that movie. You said top three?
Top three.
You're limiting me. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's the tough one to do.
Number two would be Carmen Jones.
Great movie.
The musical.
Yeah. Harry Belafonte.
Yes, and Dorothy Dandridge.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Great film.
Very good film. Third one would be, probably Wayne's World. I loved Wayne's World since I was like 7 or 8 years old.
You gotta throw in the curveball, yeah.
I loved Wayne's World.
What would your top three?
Once Upon a Time in the West by Sergio Leone.
That's.
Yep. Phantom of the Paradise by Brian De Palma.
Yes.
And I don't know the third one. I want to say it might be Cannibal Holocaust by Ruggiero Deodato.
Yeah. That is a sick film.
Well, it's a sick film, but it also I think it has a lot of commentary on who are the cannibals. Is it us watching this film, or is it the people that we're watching on television? So I think that's what Deodato was trying to go with that, but rather extremely.
Extreme, especially any really good horror filmmaker, gore filmmaker. It's not about the horror and the gore. Mm-hmm. It's some type of almost figurative representation of things that are happening in society at the time. Mm-hmm. Like Romero with Day of the Dead making a statement on mass commercialism and stuff. Mm-hmm. Those always make the best horror. Yeah, that way you learn something with all your guts and everything being spilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without explaining, top 3 films that influenced you.
Without explaining,
yes,
top 3 films
just
that influenced me?
Stop.
I would say Pulp Fiction, Annie Hall, and guess I'll have to go with Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I had to pick just 3, that's like you, it's hard for me to limit
really
down.
Hard.
If somebody asks me what's your top, send me your top movie. I usually send them a list of 50.
20?
Yeah, or 20. yeah. She's been victimized by that of, send me your favorite films. Well, here's 100 movies. You can get started on this. If you get through these, let me know. I'll give you more. That's just the way it is. You got to love film. Well, that's part of, I think, we're all around here, around this table right now, is a common love of film. And all of us may be impacted differently by watching the same movie, but it's still that love of film and wanting to participate in that really it drives me.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it drives you guys too.
Oh, 100 miles per hour all the time.
I am a huge fan of, I just have to step back to that, Once Upon a Time in the Old West. I mean, I love the Man with No Name series. Big fan of Sergio Leone. Fistful of Dollars, nice remake of Yojimbo. But there's something about Once Upon a Time in the Old West.
The scene, I think the scene that sticks out to me in that film is when the entire film, you don't know who Charles Bronson is in this whole thing. And he plays the harmonica through the entire film. And then by the end of it, when I hate to give it away for anybody, but by the end of it, when he kills Henry Fonda and Henry Fonda's laying on the floor, and he puts the harmonica in his mouth, and then Fonda remembers he stuck him on his brother's shoulders. Or he stuck his brother on his shoulders to hang him.
Yeah.
It's one of the most amazing scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
It's really neat that Quentin Tarantino used the music from that for Kill Bill during the animation sequence. And I found out something about Sergio Leone that I never knew recently, that he had the music for his movies done first. And then he would play the music for the actors while they were doing the scene. Which I have, I have never heard of any other filmmaker doing that. Quite remarkable. And you know, Girl Interrupted, everybody always talks about like Winona Ryder and Angelina Jolie's performance, but the one that stuck with me the most was the late Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy.
The whole thing with her daddy bringing her chicken and her having all the chicken and the aluminum foil under the bed.
I think she's underrated.
Disturbing.
Definitely underrated. She's so talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a sad loss. I was very sad because she was one of those actresses that I always thought from that performance and a couple other performances that later on in the years she would
have had so much more to give and so many more layers to discover through performing.
What a beautiful way to put that. were you freaking sitting there the whole time just thinking of that? I'm going to wow Bill with this one. Oh, yeah. She was just waiting for that. I thought that in the shower on Monday. I'm going to save this for film speak.
Nice. So, Laila,
yes.
If you could work with anyone, who would it be?
As far as a director or with an actor?
In either. Doesn't matter.
I have to choose one?
Or both.
I like multiple options.
Who would you work with as an actor and who would you work with as a director? Who do you want to work with?
A director would be Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think he's phenomenal.
I would
not
agree.
only as an actor, but as a director, he's fantastic. Oh my goodness. An actor, I will go with Idris Elba, definitely for sure. Definitely Idris
just
Elba.
because.
Just to have him show up. Yeah. Would be great. If he just said, Laila, you know, I'd be like, score.
That's all I needed. Cut.
That's all we need.
Basically, the same question for you, Albert. Who would be like your dream person to work with if you could pick anybody?
I think it would be that group of Tarantino, Eli Roth, and Robert Rodriguez.
Nice.
Those guys. I think sometimes people don't give them credit for, you know, especially Rodriguez, because he does everything himself. And I think working with those guys, they seem very creative, and I think that would be something very good to go with.
You know, that's not enough people realize. Like Robert Rodriguez is one of the rare directors who does edit his own stuff. Actually, the only ones that come to mind is him and Edgar Wright, to the forefront of my mind. I love Edgar Wright too. Yeah. That Limey would be on the top of my dream list. Him and Simon Pegg. Yeah. I'll just cut my hand off right now. If you guys want, come work with me. Just take a one-armed guy, please. But yeah, it's that not enough actors. Because what I found out, Quentin Tarantino didn't edit his own stuff. That the late Susan.
I listened to a story about this.
Thank you, Susan Mincy. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for pulling that out of my head. To find out that she did all of his editing since Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, she died last year or the year before, I think, and he got somebody new for Django Unchained.
Yeah. But you could hardly miss a beat. Well, I guess that would be it for this segment. Please join us here after this in just a few minutes, where we'll be sitting here with our wonderful guest and breaking down the classic movie Reservoir Dogs.
It began innocently enough.
it could happen. Breathe. Coming soon from Arc Productions.
Welcome back to Film Speak. We are sitting here with Albert and Laila. We're going to be breaking apart the classic film, classic for some, Tarantino movie Reservoir Dogs. Well, I guess we'll start off right off the bat. Laila, what did you think of Reservoir Dogs?
I thought it was really bloody. Honestly, it's a lot of blood. But I appreciate how he kind of mixes violence with a little bit of comedy. And also with the music. I really had a great appreciation for the music too. Something about Tarantino, he always has some type of 70s type of vibe going, and I'm naturally kind of retro myself, so I always like how he pairs everything together to make it really
It's kind of funny you mentioned the music, because there's not actually a score to the film.
Oh.
All the music comes off
the radio.
All the characters listening to the 70s radio station with us. Yes, Stephen Wright. And you know that's not often used in films, because normally there's a score to help try to raise emotion and stuff like that. But I guess when you're trying to make a budget movie, you got to work with what you got. How about you, Albert? What did you think of Reservoir Dogs?
I love Reservoir Dogs. I think it's a great film. I think it's one of the greater films of the 90s. And I think it helps set the tone for a lot of directors that came out of that time period. You were talking about Edgar Wright earlier. And his first film that he made with a bunch of friends it looked just like a straight rip from Reservoir Dogs. Everybody had the skinny ties and the suits and everything. So I think that movie, I kind of sometimes I kind of relate films to music a lot. And I'm a huge punk fan, especially of punk from the '70s. And a lot of that music influenced many things that came after it. And I think the movie Reservoir Dogs influenced a lot of people after that.
Well, it definitely had a style all its own, because Quentin Tarantino, one of my things I like about him as a filmmaker is he is a film dork. And that shows in his movies, because the way he'll take genres and different director styles and homages to other films and everything and just kind of compile them all into one flick. I mean, it definitely gives his own distinct style, but at the same time, he's stealing that style from other filmmakers.
I think we were talking off camera about, this is the movie that, as a heist movie, it doesn't show the heist. And I think he masterfully does this in this film. And this movie seems to be a lot of reactions. And it starts with the beginning. The whole conversation about the waitress and not tipping. You don't ever see the waitress, but you have all the reactions to her actions before that happens. And so you have that as well with the heist. You have this huge heist that they only talk about. So in your mind, it's building up images of, oh, this must have been bloody as hell, or sorry, but this must have been really bloody. But it's only built up in your imagination. And I think when I think about that, I think I read a book called Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, and he says the whole world is in between the borders of the comic book. So in the little borders, your mind is putting each image together. So with Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino is putting this movie together, not only with not only with what you're seeing, but with what he wants you to think about through dialogue.
It's kind of an interesting point that you brought up there, the whole time passage thing. Actually, Hitchcock was the first to do that. I think it was with the movie The Lady Vanishes, where a guy to escape hits a fire alarm, and then the next thing you see is him standing on the street doing this with his jacket. He puts his hat on. And then your mind is supposed to fill in, okay, he pulled the fire alarm, he got outside somehow, he must have escaped. You just fill in the blanks there. And it's kind of neat to see through the progression of time that how much that has grown in filmmaking. I also find with Reservoir Dogs, it was based on an actual Chinese film from Hong Kong called City on Fire with Chow Yun-fat. I know I mentioned this before we were talking about it, and I have a bad habit of doing that. I just let me talk about the film before we're supposed to be talking about it, so that I use all my little notes up for it. But I was watching the movie because I started watching it because it was a Chow Yun-fat film, and I'm watching it, and there's a scene where Chow Yun-fat's all sitting there with the bullet wound, and the guy's all like, there's no way this guy's a cop. He took the bullet from me, and then they do the whole Mexican standoff thing, and then it hit me. I was like, this is Reservoir Dogs, you know? It doesn't have the catchy dialogue and everything that Quentin Tarantino wrote, but essentially it was still the same story.
I think,
What I really liked about it is that the acting didn't seem forced. It just seemed like they were improvising the whole thing. It didn't seem like it was something that was written. I just thought the acting was really, really impressive from that.
And which is funny because it all was written. Actually, Quentin Tarantino wrote Mr. Pink. He didn't write Mr. Brown for himself.
Okay.
He wanted to play Mr. Pink.
Yeah, Mr. Pink was my favorite because the actor who played him, he's really funny. Like
Steve Buscemi. Yes.
I liked him in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
He's in like all of his movies.
Well, yeah, he's just a great character actor. He doesn't have that look that's going to elevate him to superstardom. But he is such a much better actor. He is such a good actor that anybody you put in a scene with him is going to be a better actor, just because he's that good. And then Mr. Pink, he just played a great character. And when he auditioned, he told Quentin Tarantino, I want this. And Quentin Tarantino said, well, I want to play that character. You better really nail the audition if you want me to make him give him up.
Now, is it true that Mr. Orange was the only one who didn't audition? Or did he just show up and they just gave him the part? Or I read somewhere where he didn't actually audition for the part.
I guess Tarantino kept him separate from the rest of the actors because of him being the mole, because he was the undercover cop and everything. And you know, it's funny, you mentioned the whole blood thing and how much blood there was. You know, the only blood there was from Mr. Orange.
And that was a lot of blood.
Yeah, because
like, oh my God,
he hired
one human being.
He hired a medic to keep a medic on set.
Yeah.
So that he could correctly, he had the medics to say, this is how much blood would be lost after this much time.
That's really
and he could sit there and keep, adding blood. And so it would look realistic to the amount of time and the amount of blood loss.
Painful to watch. It was painful to watch.
When he's laying there at the end and everything, and after he shoots Mr. Blonde, and the whole ramp he's on, I mean, everything is just glazed with blood. Disturbing.
Very.
Yeah, very much so. I heard Michael Madsen had a hard time doing the torture scene.
I find that surprising because it's Michael Madsen.
Because it's Michael Madsen. No, the actor who played the cop being tortured.
Kurt Baltz.
Kurt Baltz. Improv'd a line. And about his kids, about please, I got kids, don't hurt me. And I guess from what I read,
it freaked him out.
Freaked him out. Madsen just broke down, started crying, and said, I couldn't do this anymore, and left the set for the day.
Wow.
Because he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle how real the torture was.
Wow.
And I'd read that they actually filmed them cutting the ear off, and you could see him grabbing the ear, and he saws it off.
Yeah.
But Tarantino didn't like the way it looked.
Yeah.
And taking the camera and just doing that quick tilt to where you're looking at the ceiling, but you're hearing the sounds of the ear being cut off and the screaming and everything, and that had more of a psychological impact than actually witnessing it.
And you get a lot of that in that film, like when Steve Buscemi's going off on Harvey Keitel about telling his name and stuff. He's just ranting and raving, but yet Tarantino keeps the camera on Harvey Keitel. And I mean, you could be looking at Buscemi, and he could be given the performance of a lifetime. But why does he choose to go from that to just looking at Keitel, just thinking internally about all these things that are going on?
And that's the whole Hitchcock thing. There's a lot of everybody emulates Hitchcock a little bit. If you're a filmmaker, I guarantee you, whether you're thinking about it or not, you're using Hitchcock techniques in your film. But nobody has directly, in recent years, used it as obviously as Tarantino, especially the long shots. You know, to where it's the scene where they're in the bathroom and Harvey Keitel is lighting his lighter and him lighting him and Steve Buscemi's cigarette, and it's just shot from down the hall. And that's my favorite shot in the whole frickin' movie. It's just that one shot all the way down the hall through a doorway, you know, where you got them sitting there smoking a cigarette and arguing, you know, about who's the mole. Just an absolute beautiful film. And I love, because I mentioned earlier when we talked about Up in a different episode, that I love Easter eggs. I love it when people, not that kind of, not that kind of Easter, well, Cadbury, maybe. But that's a horse of a different color. Easter eggs in that filmmakers who hide stuff in their movies. Like Reservoir Dogs, when we talked about the music in the radio station, there is an advertisement for Jackrabbit Slims, you know, which is the place in Pulp Fiction that they have the twist contest at. And he's all like, you know, yeah, come to Jackrabbit Slims for a $5 shake. That's the commercial. And
Interesting.
Little things like Vic Vega, Madison's character, is supposed to be the brother of Vincent Vega, Travolta's character from Pulp Fiction. So they're connected. They mentioned Alabama, because he says, how's your partner, Alabama? That's Patricia Arquette's character from True Romance. And then they mentioned Parole Officer Scavelli, and that is the cop from Natural Born Killers, played by Tom Sizemore. I mean, so it's just like, it's like his own created universe, you know, like Big Kahuna Burgers and Apple Brown cigarettes and stuff. It's all inside the Tarantino universe.
Interesting.
Has its own borders.
Very nice.
Did I just show that I'm a really big dork?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I?
It's okay.
It's okay.
We already knew.
Everybody has a little dork in them. It's okay. It's all right.
It happens. What are you going to do? Do you guys have any final thoughts on Reservoir Dogs? As a filmmaker, especially not from an acting side, as a filmmaker side, what did you take the most away from Reservoir Dogs?
But it was very bloody.
Besides that gruesome fact, yeah. I like that it shows that they were not successful. I like the fact that it showed that they actually failed pretty badly. I mean, they were horrible at what they were trying to do. I also like how they were trying to just show how they just didn't really know each other. Even though they were working together, they didn't even want to learn each other's names. You know what I mean? So I thought that was really, really cool. But I thought it was a good film.
Yeah, I thought it was a great film, and what I took away from it as a director is that you know, I think if you get the strive for passion, you can achieve whatever you want. I mean, Tarantino was originally set out to make a smaller budget film, but then Keitel came in and was like, hey, let's make this a little bit bigger, and it took him all over the world and made him super famous. So I mean, and for somebody's first film, and to just let it do that for you, that's amazing. And I think it gives hope to other independent filmmakers that maybe that thing is just right around the corner, and you don't know.
If Tarantino can do it with Reservoir Dogs, and Rodriguez with El Mariachi, and Kevin Smith with Clerks, then if I have a good story and a good group of people, I can do this too.
It's possible.
And that's what we're trying to do here and trying to tell you, is get a camera, write a story, and go make a frickin' film. Your thoughts, Lana?
I haven't seen this movie in a very long time, but listening to everyone break it down, I'm going to have to watch it again. Because Tim Roth, who I love,
yes,
Michael Madsen, who's Michael Madsen, he's crazy, and the scene with the ear, with the cop.
Yes.
I need to revisit all of this and watch it again. I
it's,
really, really do. So, at the time, I remember it wasn't one of my favorites, but I think now, years later, I'll have a different perspective.
Well, and after years of being like working in film and
Right.
enjoying film, you're able to take yourself and have a different perspective.
Yes.
We're going to make her watch it again, is what we're trying to say.
Yes.
I will be loaning her my copy of Reservoir Dogs tonight. Well, thank you guys very much.
Oh, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I hope we'll be able to get you guys in the show again to come show off some more projects and everything. And please join Lana and I for our goodbyes.
Another great show. Thank you, Albert and Laila, for joining us today.
Please join us next week when Aborigines will be here stopping by with 4X bottle and teaching us how to play a didgeridoo.
Can that really happen?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
Look, I can outlearn you, I can outread you, I can outthink you, and I can outphilosophize you. And I'm gonna outlast you.
Wow, you just made De Niro so hot.
Go on.
Goodbye, everybody.